Hi there, my name is Malcolm Graham Wood, and today I'm at Core Finance for my CEO interview. But today I have David Bramhill with me, who is Executive Chairman of Union Jack Oil. David, I'm absolutely delighted to have you with me today. You're on my show as a guest for the first time, and I'm very pleased.
Good morning.
Great to see you.
So,
Now, I know you know that how I do this normally. So what I would like you to do is to just do a very short appraisal of the portfolio, and then we'll go into the individual assets in a bit more detail, if we may. So a quick overview of Union Jack Oil for those who might not know too much about it would be lovely.
okay, well, Union Jack Oil, our predominant project, which is, I won't say it's a surprise, but it's been Wressle, which has been an absolute phenomenal for us. It's making us cash, a lot more than we ever envisaged from that well, and it. We were waiting for the competent persons report back and a resource reserve look at by ERCE. We, as you probably know, Malky, we've always thought it's bigger than what the initial feeling was, because it's still, even after 18 months, nearly 2 years, it's still free flowing, no water. Well, that doesn't suggest something that's going to give up the ghost in the very near future. We believe that we've got at least another 10 years production there. And if you sort of put it next to Crosby Warren, that well was meant to have lasted, I think, between 2 and 5 years, and here we are, 30 odd years later, it's still chunking away.
Good. Well, let's get into the rest of the portfolio, and then we'll come back to Wressle and so on.
West Newton, I think everybody knows what's happened there. We drilled 2 wells. We've had 2 excellent discoveries. The downside there, we haven't managed to get a commercial flow problem yet. And I have that word yet.
I'll come back to you on that.
So we've got the money. We've signed an AFE to drill the well. We're waiting for the operator to come back and give us a well date, but we're ready to roll on that one. Keddington, that's a terrific asset. We've got 55% of that. Compared to Wressle at small scale, we probably get about half of $400,000 to $500,000 a year out of that one. A well is planned there. We're planning permission in place. We're beating up pretty soon, and I'd say watch this space as far as Keddington is concerned.
Mm-hmm.
Hopefully be drilled this year. I say hopefully. There's no reason why it shouldn't be. Let's put it that way.
Yeah.
And we'll push. Everyone keen. There's only 2 of us in there. Segden, as you probably know, and us. So we're both keen. We know where we want to drill. There's no arguing between the 2 of us on where we think the well site should be. So it should be quite plain sailing from now on. The difficulty is to know, these wells are not cheap. You're talking millions of pounds. So we need to be as sure as we can.
Yeah.
And we're pretty sure now where to go. So that's something to look forward to during the year.
And you can say you'll drill a well on there, and then North Kelsey, you're going to drill that as well this year?
This year, I wouldn't have thought so. This year, still waiting for planning. There's 2. We've got Biscathorpe, we're waiting for planning, North Kelsey. But North Kelsey, we know that it's going to happen, I think, in June, and it shouldn't be very long to hear back on that one. So lots of good stuff to look forward to, assuming on the 2 wells we haven't got planning for, but we get a positive decision. I can't comment. I don't know.
No, understood. Yeah, I can totally understand that. So let's get back to look at some a bit more detail on Wressle. As you said, you've produced 400,000 barrels to date, as I understand it, and you said you could have another 10 more years. What's the rate going to be like? And I know that you've got potential drilling in 2 or 3 different horizons there. So
that's right.
Why don't you talk us through the plans for Wressle, David?
All I can say is it's been a surprise, maybe not to us, you know, we followed Wressle very, very closely, and as everybody will probably know, but even though we're not operators, we've got a very, very good technical team, and our technical team believes that there's a lot more oil in the Ashover grit alone than what was originally envisaged, and that a lot more oil, according to Gaffney Klein, could be another 2.4 million barrels, or could be 2.4 million against 600,000. Plus, there's all the gas to look at and other horizons. That's really taken us by surprise. And when you look at the logs, the well logs of Wressle, from top to bottom, shows hydrocarbons. If like in some of the hydrocarbon formations, they're a couple meters thick. In Canada, they would have been tested, but over here not, and they would have flowed. You know, it's a very, very good well. We're lucky, I would say lucky. We've been looking to, we chose correctly for once.
And so, where will you drill? I mean, you're going to continue to drill. You've got another well coming out, haven't you? You're going to do that in the Ashover grit as well, or are you going to do this flags?
Hasn't been decided yet, but if talking purely hypothetically, if the RCE come up and say, well, look, guys, this is a lot bigger than we thought in the Ashover grit, it would be ludicrous not to drill into the Ashover grit and double your money. It sounds simple, but it's not as simple as that. But you would be having another well, which would add extra production, and still leads to the actual Penistone flags, which is loaded with gas. We know that. So we've got a seriously productive well there, with a lot of different options. There's many roads to go down for Wressle. No, it really is a star. It's a star performer. Will it continue? There's no reason for it not to.
And you mentioned gas there, and obviously so far you've been just sort of hauling out the oil and selling it. If you did get gas there, you probably haven't got any problems with selling it or monetizing any gas there, because you're in an area where there's probably quite a demand for gas. Is that right?
Yeah, like we're talking. As I say, well, I'm not telling you anything out of school. We were talking to a local industry that would like to take some of the gas or all of it. We could always put a pipeline into a nearby grid, which is 600 meters. There's a lot of different. Once again, we've various options.
And is there still the Broughton North prospect, or is that sort of been moved?
That's still there as well.
Yeah, I remember looking at that a long time ago.
Yeah. There was a lot of people saying, "Oh, David, why don't you get some new projects? Things are getting quiet. There's nothing happening." But they will happen. I promise you that. But you know, Mark, you've been in the industry as long as I have. I nearly said longer, but nearly. Sorry about that.
It wasn't a long time ago we first met.
Yeah, but you know, with so many different options, roads to go down, and you know, you can be surprised. Sometimes you think you've got a slam dunk oil discovery, and next thing you know, that it's petered out after 3 months.
Right,
it's completely different.
Now I'm going to go to the difficult topic, I'm afraid, David.
I'm afraid I'm going to have to call this interview short now. Okay.
I'm afraid I'm going to have to ask you about West Newton. And, you know, you and I have talked about West Newton. And in fact, we've got a lunch, which you said you'd buy when something happened at West Newton, and which I haven't even had yet. So
I don't remember saying that. But
yeah, I'll remind you of it. But listen, the point is that, you know, West Newton, we were all very, very fired up about. You mentioned it in your short analysis of the company. You said that you know, a very substantial discovery there. You know, I'd really like you to go into some detail. The people, you know, first of all, I do understand that I think that the Zechstein is a very difficult reservoir to get hydrocarbons out of. Secondly, I know that people thought that it was oily and gassy, and then gas came up and so on, and then a further well probably confused that even more. But perhaps you can give us a bit of history for what's been going on at West Newton, and in due course, we need to know whether all the partners are actually going to, you know, come up with the cash and put the money down. You said you're ready to rumble.
in answer to that question, all I can say is we're ready to go. I know the casing has been purchased, which is a good sign. We've got more than enough cash. We're ready to drill. And really, I suppose people, shareholders, should go and ask. I can't answer other people's finances.
No, I understand.
You must know that, Marky. I
Yeah,
know
yeah.
what you're saying.
I'm not trying to cheat you into saying something.
Fine. We're ready to drill. We have the money. We're ready to drill. We're eager. I know that Rathlin are eager. And I know that Rehoboth are eager to drill. So that's good. We had a meeting a couple of weeks ago in London. All good.
So tell us about what you would want to do there, and what you want to drill, and where you would want to see the the amounts of what do you think the hydrocarbon potential is there?
Well, we know that it's very, very high because we've got 2 discoveries. The logs are magnificent. They've had a couple of competent person reports from RPI. The amount of gas in place is phenomenal onshore. You've got offshore gas volumes onshore. They need to get it out. They need it to flow. The discoveries, the last well was drilled, the B1Z. That was I use the word massive because it was. They poured water down the well. They damaged it. RPS say you shouldn't have done that. That's what's caused the near-time well damage. Can I understand that? Yeah, I'm not 100% technical, as you know, but yes, I can understand that. They've done laboratory tests, which you could put out of every orifice. They've managed to flow oil and gas through one way. They've managed to flow oil and gas through the other. The permeability isn't brilliant, as we all know. It's Eckstein, which it can be tricky, is tricky. However, there are wells around the world that are producing in abundance far, far lower permeability than what we've seen. So the story is that the well was damaged because of all the water and the acid. So the idea is next time an oil-based mud will be used to drill the well. A horizontal. I've seen the well path. Looks brilliant. There's loads of sweet spots in there. If we get natural fractures, which would be ideal, terrific. I can't wait to drill it. So all I can really say to the shareholders, join the club. I can't wait. I'm probably right at the head of the queue and saying, come on, let's get this done.
And you can't do anything about it, and
absolutely
the operators. You say the operators want to go ahead, but why aren't they going ahead with?
Best ask them, Malky.
Well, we have to, but
yeah, but I can only be as truthful as I can say, and
it strikes the market as being very peculiar, especially given how keen you are to get on with it. How the operators and their friends up there don't appear to want to do it, and yet at the same time they're buying acreage in Italy or something to produce in 2025. I mean,
like I say about best ask them about that.
Yeah, no, I'm not trying to tease you into
we've been to it
into reply.
What was I going to say to you? We're ready to drill that well, and a lot of people have come back and said, well, look, you've got pots of money. Why don't you buy even more of West Newton? But you know, and I know, risk-reward ratios.
Yeah.
Why don't we buy more? We're just right. If
it wasn't you, is there a bit of West Newton up for sale at the moment? Do you think someone could come in and farm into it at all?
Well, I think if you read Rehoboth's last RNS and the Rathlin community memo that goes on every now and again, I think they've made it quite clear that there's farm outs going on.
Yeah. Well, the sooner the better, because
as I say, I couldn't agree with you more. I'm not trying to wriggle out of anything. We've got the money. We'd dearly love to be. If somebody said, write your check for whatever it is tomorrow morning, we'd be up there by courier with that check to drill that well.
Well, thank you for going as far as you possibly could in terms of. I tried to get it out of you, but I knew I wouldn't be able to. But we've learned a bit already, actually, today. So thank you for that in particular.
But what I would say is that we we wouldn't plan on taking. We're happy with our risk reward ratio. I'd like to think that we haven't done anything which would break the bank and Union Jack Oil. It's been a long time to get to where we are at. Like I'm seriously proud of those results that we come out with today. It's not very often, and I'm racking my brains to find an explorer. I remember Edinburgh years ago. They did very well, but very few companies which actually end up. Encore was another one. That was one of our shells, which was bought quite a long time ago, 15, 16 years. The old Herrywood Ventures, and so we had the base there.
Well, I think it's going to be my next question. So you mentioned finances a little earlier, and you just talked about it. You've issued your results this morning, David. It's by any manner of means, it's a cracking set of figures. They are with a first ever decent net profit and earnings up, out of all recognition and so on. Give us a quick run through the figures. You must be very pleased.
Well, yeah, we made over 3.5 million earnings per share. We're on a very low PE ratio, but I really do think that the whole oil market is going sideways. Like you and I had a discussion earlier about oil shares, not just on AIM, but over the whole block. They've all moved sideways. Very few companies have still in the red in the black after 1 year. Nearly everything's moved sideways. And am I surprised at the reaction to today's results? We're still around. We've got nearly 10 million in cash. We've got some liquid investments which we could pull another million in tomorrow. I don't see how we can better. At this moment, I don't see, with bottom of the report, could try harder. I don't think we could.
No, and you've paid out. I mean, the great thing is that it wasn't very long ago that people wouldn't have expected to be receiving dividends, but now your shareholders are receiving dividends. So you announced a spin-off and then a special. Then you've announced a year-end one for July. So it looks like you're in the makings of a progressive dividend policy here, David.
It's difficult to say. The number one priority is to make sure you have all the money to pay for your commitments going forward, i.e. the drilling. Any money left over, it will be returned to shareholders. That's all I can say as far as the dividend policy is there. If you were to say to me, would I like to pay a dividend frequently? Yes, of course I would. And would we do that? I think we've said we'll pay dividends as and when we can. But the most important thing is to ensure we've all the money for drilling.
Well, I think, you've pointed out the fact that you've got the drilling, you've got everything paid for next year or more, and you've got a realistic dividend policy, be buying back the shares, all sorts of things. It's not careful. It's you've got Union Jack onto a very sound financial footing, with these figures in particular, haven't you?
I think so.
Now, I'd like to ask you something else. I thought I'd got it about right when I wrote about it a few weeks ago, and I know this is also trying to sort of tease something out of you, but you did sell the interest in Piper Claymore royalty units, which, as I understand from the statement and speaking to you, is that you were unable to give exact details of. Because of the nature of it. The market, actually, that's the wrong thing to say. Some people on some of these sites were getting completely wrong end of the stick, to the extent where I had to go out in the market and say, as I understand it, just because something is a confidential transaction doesn't mean to say it's not right. You told me that you'd made more money, out of that than you had made in a lot of things. But people didn't seem to have the sort of trust anymore. But that was just a good quality deal you did in the marketplace, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was It was an excellent deal. Excuse me. It was an excellent deal. We did a deal with a major. I'm not allowed to reveal who or even say how much. Breaks my heart because it was a good deal, and I can understand why they insisted on that. And that's not unusual. You would probably agree. With these majors, they got you over the barrel, and we were happy, more than happy. And it's more than when we use the word more than an above average payback, perhaps that would be a typical understatement.
Yes. Yeah. So I think people should know that it was a very good deal, and you just couldn't say anything about it. One day it'll come out. There's no doubt about that.
In the accounts, in the interims, so you don't have to wait very long for those.
Yeah.
I'd say spent 6 months getting the year-end accounts out. We get about a month off, and then we're back into the interims.
Oh well. No, you've mentioned a few bit. We've talked about doing deals and farm-ins and everything else. Is there much around in terms of M&A activity in your neck of the woods in the UK onshore and that sort of stuff? Is there much doing?
It's difficult. We've looked even farther afield, and there's nothing really exciting. Every time we come back and say, "Look what we've got. We've already got we've cherry picked some really cracking projects, and we don't really need to go elsewhere." All I can say, I can assure that it will happen in the future. Kennington, I think, would probably be the first one we do. But we're happy with our lot. We're always looking for deals. There's never a week go by where we're offered something and we take it to our technical teams. They say, no, it's always a flaw. So it's very difficult to find a decent deal where you're not really putting a family silver at risk.
Yeah.
So I'm never going to do that.
No.
Never going to do that.
No. Well, that's great news to hear. That is, and if you got the opportunity, and I think that there are times when, you were in such a good position that you are at the moment because you were prepared to do the deals when the market was in pretty grim position.
Yeah.
When people were forced sellers, you were there to buy it.
Like when you consider we started off with Wressle at 8%.
Yeah.
We're now 40.
Yeah.
No, that's not bad business. We've done good business, excellent business.
Yeah, that'll go down in history. Briefly, it's before the watershed, so what's your language here? But what do you think about the the planning situation at the moment and how things are going through councils? Are they always having to go to appeal and get called in and all that sort of stuff?
Afraid so.
Yeah. There's nothing that everything should be looked at appropriately, and you always know that you're going to have to stand up for yourselves in terms of safety and so on. But the fact that things go through and take such a long time and go, just seems to be very peculiar, even now.
But that's always been the problem onshore UK. However, once it happens and you've got a decent proposition, something to turn into an exploratory well into development, then the paybacks are phenomenal. They're really good. Is it worth the wait? If you live long enough, yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, but also, there must be communities around the country in Lincolnshire and that part of the world where they can see that it actually affects other places for the positive. And there should be less.
Yeah. Well, I think up at Wressle, I think everybody's happy. I think so. We Egton hold community meetings. There's a community fund. We've done very well. We're happy to do that. Of course we are. So it's not.
So I'm afraid, David, time is coming. We've had a good run, and we're getting close to the end of this interview. I'm afraid.
That's a shame.
I could go on forever, but what I always like to do at the end of the interview is to just ask the executive chairman, in this case, or the CEO, what your vision is for Union Jack for the next 12 to 18 months, and how do you see it panning out for the company?
Well, we're fully cashed up, which is pretty good for a company of our ilk to be able to say. There's not many can say that. We've got a drill program, which is exciting. It's a horrible word, but I suppose it is. There's lots of good news to come, not just in the development, but in the CPR call on the competent persons reports. And I'm really looking forward to Wressle, where I'm hoping there's going to be a material upgrade. That's what I'd like to see. We don't know yet. We haven't seen anything. Most importantly, will there be any fundraisings? No, absolutely out of the question. So we're pretty well stead. We're in good shape. Will we continue to make money? Wrestle's good at $9 a barrel. So yeah, unless there's a complete bust up as there was a few years ago, we're standing pretty. But even standing still now, we've a war chest to do some really, really good stuff over the next year to 18 months, or even sooner.
Good. Well, it's been very kind of you to come on, take your time to join me on Core Finance for the interview, David. Thank you very much indeed for joining me today.
Thank you, Malky. All the best.
Thank you. So my name has been Malcolm Graham Wood during this CEO, or should I say Executive Chairman interview, where my guest has been David Bramhill, Executive Chairman of Union Jack Oil. I'd like to thank him very much for his time, and thank you very much indeed for watching. Bye now.